Welcome to the Therapist Files, where we explore the wisdom of seasoned mental health professionals. In Season 1, we're spotlighting those with over a decade of experience, sharing their stories, insights, and practical advice. Whether you're a therapist, considering therapy, or passionate about mental health, this podcast is for you. Let's learn from the best and break the stigma, one conversation at a time. I'm your host, Jax Anderson. This is Renae Swanson.
Hello.
What is your title, professional license, and how long have you been practicing?
Right now, I'm an interim dean in the College of Education and Human Services at UW-Oshkosh. And when I'm practicing, I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I have been so since 2003. And then from 1998 to that time, I was a chemical dependency counselor.
So a lot of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're not practicing right now.
I'm not. When you work in certain levels of administration, you can have too many conflicts of interest that are possible. So I had to make a choice at a certain point.
Do you miss it?
Yes. I miss seeing clients. I miss working with families and working with kids and just seeing them find themselves again and find light in each other again.
Yeah. Is that your favorite thing about it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My least favorite thing about practicing was sitting for 4.5 hours on phones with insurance companies.
Oh, we're gonna get to insurance companies. I think that's the second segment here that we have today. But yes, we will get to that. So we'll save it for then. I concur.
Yeah.
I don't like talking to insurance companies. That's why I hired a billing agency. I couldn't do it anymore.
Oh, totally. The people are amazing. Getting to work with folks.
Mm-hmm.
It's the business side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is pretty much just insurance companies because that's the whole business. Well, I mean, unless you run a big clinic. But, yeah. So the first segment is basically just professional experience. For the people that are listening to this, it's intended for people that are maybe new to counseling or being in the mental health professional field in school or maybe considering becoming a mental health professional to hear from mental health professionals that have a ton of experience and can just share their perspective in the field and help those people maybe decide, is this what I want to do? Navigate the system a little easier than we had it, all that stuff.
Totally.
So based on that, what do you believe are the most important qualities or characteristics of a successful therapist?
I think, and this can look like a million trillion different ways, but just being someone who likes a little bit of adventure in their relationships with other people. And the reason I say that, as long as you're non-judgmental, I think one of the beautiful parts of our profession is anyone could become a counselor if they're open to other people, if they're open to adventures that could happen in the room during therapy, and if they're open to looking at themselves. And that's what, I mean, if you think about it, since anyone has the pathway to go to counseling, we need to have a variety of different types of professionals. So I mean, I know there's and as we're sitting here, we both have cardigans on. We very much both have the therapist outfit on. I've even got it down to the Birkenstocks.
We are. I think it is a therapist thing, though, to have the cardigans and the comfy shoes and be a little weird.
Oh, yeah. But like I said, that can look and feel so many different ways out in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree with you. Being open, that's good advice for people to just be flexible, zoom out on your perspective, and maybe you can learn something.
Yeah. I mean, if I think about all the students I've taught over the years, the times that they were having the hardest time was usually because they were bumping into themselves in relation to someone else and being able to be flexible and kind to themselves as they're trying to figure this relationship thing out. So, yeah.
I can remember doing that myself.
Me too.
Okay, I told him we're going to be recording. You would think he would do around the garage first.
I don't think that men have that type of brain.
No. You mean the executive function to like think ahead.
Yeah. He is probably mowing the lawn the exact same way he does every day.
100%.
Like, this is his process.
100%. It doesn't matter what the fuck I'm doing.
No.
Like, but if it was reversed, I would make sure to get like this area done first so that
we think
he
about
wouldn't
other
have
people
that
first, I think. So.
What has been your most rewarding experience as a mental health professional, and what impact did it have on your career?
Oh gosh, there's been so many, because there's so many cool things we get to see and do,
right,
as counselors. But I think the most rewarding thing was getting to supervise other new counselors, like counselors that were new to the field, because just watching them like find themselves in their rhythm and encounter really difficult situations and come to me and be like, I did it. That is like the best. And then we talk it through, or seeing them work through things that would get in the way in therapy on themselves, but watching them grow through that is just incredibly cool.
It's like, fun.
Yeah. There's nothing cooler than that.
If you're somebody who is a new therapist or thinking about the field, like, I believe that this is the perspective that a majority of the supervisors have.
Yes. Yeah, I was just talking the GA in the dean's office right now is a counseling student. So her two friends come in. Shout out to Annie, Val, and Jen. But they were talking about like wondering if they'll ever know what they're doing. And I'm like, no. You just get more comfortable not knowing over the years.
Exactly. You what is that who said that? It was a Buddha said, or somebody said, like, you are truly intelligent when you realize you don't know anything.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I feel like I know less now than I used to. Maybe that's the age coming on, but also I think it's just realizing that because you and I have been practicing long enough that what research was telling us 20 years ago, we have now found, because of the research on the brain, that all of that was wrong.
It was wrong.
And we had to relearn
the
new theories. So nothing we know is really no.
Yeah.
We know it's not static.
Nothing that's real is really real. Let's get really deep on it.
Yeah, there we go.
Even though we complain about CEUs, it's good we have them. Otherwise, we wouldn't know that new research, and we could be those old dinosaurs that are like stuck on, no, it's this way.
We're still talking about Piaget and
Freud. Ew. Freud was a cokehead. Look it up if you didn't know that.
How's your penis envy today? Mine's middling.
There's zero envy. Okay.
Now I'm going to have to listen to see if this is edited out.
No, I know. Probably not.
We'll leave it. It'll be expected for it to go weird with us.
Yes. I mean, if you've listened to us before, then...
Yeah.
Anyway. We should plug our other podcasts and Raise a Little Hell.
Raise a Little Hell. If you want to hear us really go into parenting and difficult and then also kind of hilarious situations, please tune in.
Yes, two things can be true as well. My favorite story you've ever shared is the masturbation story.
Oh my gosh, yeah. The ceiling. That's usually what people ask me about. How old was he? What type of bed was it? Just to clear it up, it was a loft bed, so...
Oh, yeah. Tune in. Raise a Little Hell podcast. We'll be putting out more seasons. Okay. Shameless plug over.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
How do you manage professional boundaries while building strong therapeutic relationships? Okay,
let's pause.
Yeah.
Douchebag is going through it.
As you see his head.
I know. You see his head. I'm going to have to leave these in because...
Mitch incoming.
On his freaking toy lawnmower.
Hey, that's a nice lawnmower.
It takes him like 5 hours to mow the lawn too. Well, he's collecting all the leaves today.
Oh,
because heaven forbid one leaf stays in our yard.
I've quit raking.
I said leaf, funny. You quit raking?
Yeah, because it's we do a couple of layers. Otherwise, it would be too much, and it would
get
not
moldy.
Be good for our plants. But we kind of hit a certain point and then we stop so that it can naturally fertilize the ground.
That's what I told him to do, but he disagrees. He says 1 leaf on the yard will get moldy. He didn't say that. I'm exaggerating. How do you maintain professional boundaries while building strong therapeutic relationships?
Oh gosh. I really have to check myself when I walk in the door and decide whether or not I'm interested in what I have going on that day. Do you know what I mean? Because there were times where I would have to take the day off.
Yeah.
Because things were just too much or something was happening with my children or my family. So when I walk into that door, it's all about the other people that are coming in to see me.
Yeah.
Be it client or supervisee. And you and I work in sticky situations because we're parents, but we're also seeing clients who are in that same age group. Mm-hmm. So it was not unusual for me to be at a dance team thing or a basketball game or something and have a parent and a client in the space. In fact, most of the time there was.
Right.
So it was, there was pressure. And do you feel this? Like there was always a pressure for me to have an okay, like positive relationship with them. So it would be sticky if I had to set some boundaries, or sometimes it is pretty natural for your clients. If you're doing a good job, there are times when your clients might be frustrated with you or upset with you because you're not giving them what they want because it's not what they need. So I always felt that, like it was a gauge when I would come in sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, we work with such a vulnerable population too, where their relationships with adults are shaky. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I always feel like I want to model to them how adults should be.
Right.
In relationships with children.
Right. Number 5, what advice would you have for managing therapist burnout?
I had a couple of things. Mm-hmm. First, honestly, I know the PESI trainings and everything, our CEUs, we don't always enjoy them, but they did really help keep me fresh.
Yeah.
Because almost everything I went to, I had something that I could take back and make my own and apply to my sessions. Mm-hmm. So that always helped, doing that PD, talking to friends, like doing supervision with other folks. I'm talking to friends, like I don't mean like go to coffee and like chat about your clients with your friends, but have some kind of processing group or supervision group that you're a part of. Mm-hmm. That helps a ton, just so that you're not carrying the weight of clients yourself. Because there were so many times I would call you and I would be like, oh my God. The other thing is, there were times in my life where I had like personal things going on that made me decide I had to curate my clientele a little bit. So like when I was going through my divorce, I didn't work with couples for about 3 or 4 years.
That's so smart.
After that, just to give myself some space, a break, because that would have been so much to manage my own feelings.
Yeah.
So that I could stay present in the room. And
right. It would have burned you out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've seen people experience that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's okay to every once in a while switch up your clientele if you need to.
Right.
What strategies can early career therapists use to overcome the common challenges they encounter? Oh, number 1, just be kind to yourself.
Give yourself grace.
I beat myself up so many times for things that were really actually added to therapy because I was myself. For a minute, like I would do something that I thought was like a mistake. And it was really just me being me, and my clients loved that.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Like self-disclosing or just being more of authentically who you are.
Or just using the wrong name or tripping something up or.
Yeah.
Yep. Or on crossing a boundary that they had set with me, things like that. And they would almost always be something that we were able to work it back in.
Right.
And make it a useful part of the session.
Right.
So.
Yeah, you're going to fuck up, basically.
100%. Make all the mistakes.
You're going to fuck up. People are going to complain about you. Yep. And that's okay. Yeah. Those are all learning opportunities.
Just set your intention. And if your intention is to be helpful and to be supportive and to hold space, that's the important thing.
Yep. And you can get through anything.
Mm-hmm.
especially if you have a good supervisor. I highly suggest having a good supervisor.
And I would also encourage you to have a group of new counselors that you're a part of.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, because you can support each other through all of the nonsense that you have to do.
That is a really good idea.
Yeah.
For sure. That could be like a lifetime, professional relationship then.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
I wish I would have done that.
No, I did everything by myself because I feel like we were raised not to ask for help. Mm-hmm. But that's a patriarchal thing too. Like women aren't supposed to ask.
Mm-hmm. We're supposed to know.
Because then we're a hassle or we're a burden.
Yeah.
On someone. So ask for help.
Yes, ask for help. Demand almost like demand help.
If you should from your supervisor, that's what they're there for.
Yes. In your professional experience, which therapeutic modality do you find to be the most impactful and effective?
I haven't really experienced one being better than any of the others. Like, I feel like for me, I do well as individuals and I do well with families and couples. Mm-hmm. But for other people, I've seen people do like artful freaking counseling in group settings. I've seen artful counseling in individual settings. I think it just depends on the human. Yeah. On the person that's doing it.
Right. Your gifts and talents.
Yeah. Like it's the same reason I like family and couples is you have to employ the here and now so much. So just staying so in tune with yourself and trusting, like if you have a gut feeling about something, go with your instincts. And knowing when to do that. Sometimes it's not the time. But
you're so good at that. I've seen you do that. And you're so good at gently bringing people back to the present.
Yeah.
And gently helping them see the perspective of the other person in the family. You almost do that. You do that within your own family, I've witnessed. You do that even when we've been in supervision groups together. You do that very well.
But I've seen you do it too. But this is the cool part. We do it very differently.
Very differently.
You're going to have therapy envy.
Oh, yes.
You'll see someone else do this like really, really cool thing and you're going to be like, why didn't I think of that?
Right.
I must not know what I'm doing because I didn't think of that. And it's not that. You are going to think of things that other person didn't think of because of who you are.
Yes.
So being okay with that is...
thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready to tackle insurance companies?
Barf.
Gross. I have only 4 questions, and we don't even have to do them all if you don't want to, but the first one is kind of long. What are your thoughts on the impact of insurance companies on mental health care, especially regarding access for underprivileged populations and limitations on providing adequate care?
I don't think they actually provide access. Because depending on the insurance you can afford, the deductibles are often so high. In fact, that was like the biggest thing that I worried about with watching people. So I would watch the billing cycles really closely because I didn't want them to see me too many times and then find out that they had this huge deductible. And I know that it's supposed to be the client's job to know their insurance, but not everybody does. I mean, I would say at least 25% of the adults I worked with had a pretty low reading level.
Right.
So they didn't have the ability to read their insurance company stuff and fully understand it.
Right. The insurance companies, I feel like, set it up that way.
Yeah.
When you call them, you're lucky if you get a human on the phone. And then if you don't speak the insurance company's language, you think you get an answer, but it's not the answer.
It's legalese.
Yeah.
Every single time you talk to someone, write down their name and write down their number. And write down the case number that they give you so you can reference back to that. Because I've also had times where they said, oh yeah, this is totally covered, no problem. Or they would give me an extension on an authorization or something, and then it wouldn't go through. So then I'd have to call again.
Right.
And I could reference back to that script and they can look it up. So yeah, I don't think the way we do insurance here actually provides access.
I agree with you.
And I mean, if you're someone who has a super high deductible, you may be better off just doing sliding scale.
Yeah. Yeah.
And rocking that way. And there's nothing wrong with that. Those of us that have sliding scale, we do it on purpose because ethically we are supposed to be giving back to the profession in a way and giving back to our communities. And that's how we do it.
Thank you for bringing that up because I see a lot of people that have their own business, they're independent, practitioners like me. Yeah. And we were taught to give back to the community, to have a pro bono client, to do some sliding fee scales. That is because we're social activists. We're there for the people, right? That are needing this mental health care. And so we're trained and taught to do that. But when you go to these bigger box clinics, you don't see that. No. They absolutely do not do that.
No, they are out there to make a profit typically. Yep. You have to pay for your own salary.
Yeah. So take that knowledge for what it's worth. If you have some mental health professionals in your area that are small practices, they can work with you better than the big box clinics.
You can look it up. Usually, just Google counselors with sliding scale fees.
Yeah. Or call them and ask.
Yeah.
People have called me and directly asked me.
Mm-hmm. How do you perceive the influence of insurance companies on an individual's mental health treatment? I tried to keep it out of the room as much as I could because that's so stressful. Like some insurance companies, there was a while they were only giving us like 3 sessions. If it was a Medicaid client, we would have to do a new auth. I don't want them to know that I have to do that work on their behalf. Mm-hmm. Because I want them to be able to come in and work on the things that they need to work on, which is definitely not their insurance company.
Definitely
Unless it's someone who has chronic illness. Then sometimes it is. But I try to keep it out. I'm honest with them, like, hey, this is what we're bumping up against, and I'm going to work out this. And if there's something I have to change in their treatment plan, I'm always going to tell them. But other than that, no.
Yeah. You only get so much time with them. That's good advice.
Yeah. Yeah.
In what ways could insurance companies enhance their support for individuals seeking mental health care?
I think we need a whole systemic overhaul. It's not just mental health care anymore. It's impacting the quality of health services all over. Mm-hmm. You all have probably noticed if you go to the doctor now, it's very rare you actually see an actual doctor. You see nurse practitioners, and that's partly because doctors have become more expensive to have, because when you have an insurance company with HMOs, in order for everybody to get an actual wage out of their job, they have to jack up the prices of the medical care so that a percentage goes to all the right people. And eventually the doctors became too expensive. So now we have nurse practitioners, PAs, and all that. So it needs a whole overhaul, because other countries are doing this in a way that the practitioners are making a fair wage, but clients are not having, and patients don't have to pay an arm and a leg to afford to be seen by somebody. Right. Healthcare is a right.
Okay, let's see. Does this one, how has the role of insurance companies changed since you first started working with them?
Oh, I was seeing clients before there were HMOs.
Yeah.
That made big changes. Prior to there being HMOs, we would just bill insurance. No one was telling us, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, you should be doing this. And there were there was paperwork, but it was not near as much where they could come back and say, oh, no, that's not appropriate for this particular issue.
Oh, that chaps my ass.
Yeah.
That just chaps my ass that somebody on the other end of the phone who says they're a licensed mental health professional, well, we don't know for sure, tells me how I need to adjust my treatment plan for the client they've never met. Mm-hmm. Oh, that just burns my ass.
But back then, I remember a lot of people worked for cash, too. Not everybody billed insurance.
That's true. I do remember that.
Yeah. It was a different time.
Yeah. Now people want to use their insurance.
Totally.
Third segment, intersectionality. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 1, how do you approach working with diverse populations while integrating intersectionality? And what advice would you give on developing cultural competence in clinical practice?
Do your work. Start now. If you came from a program where they didn't spend a lot of time with you looking at your privilege and how your privilege impacts other people who are from intersectional identities or who have intersectional identities. You have to do that work first. That's just from the get-go. But then also you need to continue studying and continue learning and understand so that whatever happens in the room, it doesn't become about you. It always comes back to that. It doesn't become about some unintentional ism that you brought into the space. And yes, everybody has them.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has them, but if you are aware of them, you can stay present and be with the individual and allow them to be who they are. And there have been times where I've actually talked with clients that have come in and just been like, listen, I am an old white lady, just sharing with you and my identity. And there are wonderful practitioners. And I had a list of practitioners who were people of color or who were LGBTQIA who would have openings to see you. So you can see me or I can refer you to these folks because I wanted them. And sometimes they stayed with me, sometimes they left. But I wanted that to be like a real thing for them, that they understood that I understood how my whiteness comes into the room.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to just be honest about it and really look at yourself.
Right. That's good advice.
Tough work.
All right. What gaps do you see in training mental health professionals to work with diverse populations?
I think a lot, and this is as a counselor educator, I think it's more, we're doing this better now than we used to, but really having people look at their privilege over when you and I were being trained, really looking at these are the characteristics of certain populations. Do not use eye contact. Do not do this with your personal space.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was not helpful.
Mm-mm.
If anything, I would say that probably made people nervous. Because all of a sudden you were like, oh, there's a checklist.
Right. I feel like that way of teaching was actually kind of racist and isms,
100%.
all the isms, right?
Here, let's stereotype.
Yes.
A lot of people.
Yes. Let's train you to be bigoted.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, it came from research. Like, I totally get it. They studied all these other cultures, but that doesn't mean that every single person acts that way in that culture and has those needs.
Right.
So it really comes back to therapist, know thyself.
I'm glad it's better.
I think it's gone another way where I used to see more new therapists kind of bump into themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's gone a little bit opposite where they empathize so hard and they understand how difficult the world is for certain groups of individuals and marginalized populations that they don't always hold their clients accountable.
Ooh, well, that's an interesting point.
Yeah. So being able to kind of balance that out and be like, well, they are coming to you for help.
Right.
You can totally support them, but then also help them look in the mirror a little bit.
Right. You're going to fuck up. It's a learning opportunity.
Totally. Cringe City.
Cringe City. Yep.
All right.
What are your thoughts on the role of professional mental health institutions in addressing broader social issues like racism, sexism, ableism, LGBTQ, or economic inequality? And I mean institutions like APA.
It's our job.
Right.
These are all the things that we need to be doing so that they are understood, because ACA, APA, APSW, MBCC, they are supposed to be advocating for our profession with our state and federal governments. So if we don't keep them informed about what we're running into and being involved in their organizations, they don't know. So like here, a good organization to get involved with is like the Wisconsin Counseling Association, because you can that's grassroots. You can share what's happening in your practices there. And it just feeds its way up.
Right.
So that we're getting the support we need.
What role do you believe mental health professionals should play in social justice and activism?
Again, it's kind of our job, but I think it looks different for everybody. You know, and how they handle it and how they work. Like a lot of the social justice and activism I do is more with individual clients and teaching them how to advocate for themselves. But then also when that doesn't work, being present for them when they have to do institutional visits, like they have their IEP meeting or they have, I was sat in on an appointment with one of my clients with their Medicaid, like social worker, things like that. But then also making it really clear in the community that you're a safe person. That's something I'm really concerned with a lot. It's our job. And then some folks are much more out there. Like you're like organizing things. You're doing more of that community-based organization, which I think is really cool too.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Do you think that, like, I didn't have this question on there, but I'm interested in your thoughts. There are, because I'm out there in social media world, there are other counselors that are mutuals of mine that have been experiencing, there are people that do not believe they should be involved in social activism and sharing their views online or social media, or even addressing like political issues, LGBTQ issues, like any human rights issues that these social workers, therapists, mental health professionals should not be publicly saying any of that. And they're actually shaming them and reporting them to their licensing boards, which isn't going anywhere.
No,
but it's wasting their time.
Yeah, because they have to address.
It, right? Yeah. And it wastes the institution's time. It wastes clients' time, like because the professional has to take time away from clients to address this, and it never goes anywhere because ultimately the board is like, that's their job.
That's their personal, and what you put on your personal stuff is what you put on your personal stuff, or even your public page. I mean, it's still yours,
right?
I think it's going to curate your clients a little bit as far as who will come to you, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I think we need individuals out there educating and teaching our communities about the important things that are happening in the world, because I think a lot of folks just genuinely don't know what's going on. When I think of like when I was parenting my teens, I didn't have time to be that well informed. So when I would come across like one of your videos or someone else's video, I'd be like, oh, that's what that is, you know, because I didn't always know.
Right.
So I think it's an education for the community. And I guess I don't think it's a reportable thing, as long as you're not like directly like hurting someone. That's the piece where I think it would go too far. Like if there's some bullying involved or anything, but if you're just sharing content and indicating what you have going on, or talking about a positive experience you've had in an affirming organization or things like that, I think that's needed. Or even addressing negative experiences you've had with non-affirming organizations, because you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to be yourself. Right. But it will. I think it will shift your customer base.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. Yeah. And I think that also, like what you were referencing before about educating the community, it's important the community understands how these big issues that are going on impact all of our mental health.
Yeah.
And who else is qualified to speak on that other than mental health professionals?
Yeah. And I have seen some that kind of border on, you can tell there's a self-serving aspect to what they're posting.
Yes.
And that's where it kind of hits the boundary for me, and I start to question a little bit. But when it's someone that is very clearly posting as an activist, it's not self-serving. They're doing it for the community. That's a different vibe.
I'm modeling something for you.
I'm modeling something for you, or
teaching.
Yeah.
In your opinion, how can the mental health field and mental health professionals actively contribute to dismantling systemic barriers and promoting equity? We kind of talked about it, but...
Yeah. I mean, we get the front lines of it because folks come to us and talk about their experiences in the world and what it means to be afraid in different ways that I will never be afraid.
Right.
So I think we have to take that understanding and share it with others, because there are still so many people that don't even believe that equity doesn't exist for everybody. That they think that everybody is just fine, and if you work hard enough, you're going to get there. And go back to Teddy Roosevelt, and we've known that's not true for a long time. So being able to continue to get that message out there
Right.
And for you and I, it's really around working with teens. So we both did a lot. I am not as active in this anymore, or I'm active. I am, but I'm at a different spot. I have to do it from a different lens.
Yes.
But really talking to the schools about what they need to have in place and what's going on. And
right. What should people understand about the link between physical and mental health, and how can they help destigmatize mental health in their communities?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think all the brain and cortisol research has really kind of popped off. And now we know, indeed, if someone grows up with stress or has grown up intergenerationally even with stress, like your genes are modified by stress that your great grandparents experience, it impacts health, how individuals move about in the world and how they feel. And I mean, you can see if you meet with someone who has had a privileged life and haven't had as many, they look younger, they're typically fitter, or whatever fitter is. I'm doing air quotes, you can't see them. But they move more fluid. You can tell their body isn't hurting in as many ways. And then you meet someone who has lived a life. And they could be the same age and they're going to look older. They're going to move more slowly. You're going to see aches and pains on their face. You know, I think they're really physical and mental health are just tied together.
Yeah.
In a huge, huge way. And I recognize my able-bodied privilege all the time. Like I hop on my Peloton and I'm like, not everybody can do this. This is my stress relief.
Right.
And not everybody has that. So that gets me thinking, like, what do my clients need? What can they do that's different? But yeah, I think it's huge. And then destigmatizing mental health. This is like all the time for me. I hear a lot of folks that maybe it's just the circles I run in, or, it's just around me a lot, but I'll hear people say things about other individuals based on their mental health or based on their physical health. Like, oh yeah, that person's probably just at home relaxing. They didn't come to work today. And I'll be like, we can never say that. We don't know what that individual is going through. I don't know what pain feels like for them. You know, so I'm always addressing those things as I hear them, which I'm sure gets me a lot of fans.
It probably does. I mean, certainly people aren't going to like it, but I bet it does get you a lot of fans in a sense where they appreciate you saying it. They may never tell you.
They may not know that I've said it, but I think if they ever do hear, I would think they would be
right. Better. But I appreciate you doing that because it models for other people how to, you know, in those moments that some discrimination or ism is happening, that they can witness this is how you stand up. This is how you can, it's as simple as this. And offering a different perspective in the moment.
Well, and I think in our mental health clinics, I think you and I have both probably encountered this, even there where you'll be in a group, maybe even doing group supervision, and someone will say something like, well, that person just has borderline, so they're going to be really difficult to work with, and blah, 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 blah. And they start kind of talking about the client in a negative way, which as soon as we do that, we're no longer helping. We're no longer helping. You can be real and fact-based about what an individual's symptoms are, but saying it's who they are?
Wrong.
Yes. So I think that's also a way that we advocate. And you and I actually, I think, both have. We've been in groups where we've both said something like, whoa.
Right. I've also, when I was a newbie counselor, I've also had my, hand, swatted for doing some of those things, which was good because I needed it.
I did too.
And, now getting older, like, I see, oh yeah, okay, I see, I get it. And now moving forward, we're maybe more the swatters these days, but we still can learn too. But that happens.
What are the biggest barriers to mental health care, and how can we work to overcome them? I think it's just it's still the same one. It's okay to need mental health care. Or to want it.
Right, because I want to.
Yeah. I've seen a counselor since I was 19 years old, but it took me work to be able to admit that I have. When I first started seeing clients, we weren't supposed to see anybody.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of shameful.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And now it's kind of expected. Like
now
you should be seeing someone.
There was a time I had 2 therapists.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Because you were working on kind of different things.
I was working on different things, but I also I had a therapist that was like older and was more, her style was more like grandma for me.
Yeah.
And then the other one made me work really hard.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So I could like switch out, like I needed my grandma to just listen and validate and, you know, nurture me once a month. And the one that made me work hard.
You need them both.
I needed her more. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I mean.
But that's a privilege for me to be able to do that too. To have 2 therapists.
And I think we have to, I think even just talking about it, that's advocacy. Like saying, oh yeah, I totally see somebody. Wasn't there didn't someone have a podcast that was shit my therapist said?
That was me. I had a.
Oh, that's right.
It wasn't a. It wasn't a podcast. It was more a like post that I would make, like shit my therapist said, like stuff that stuck with me, and then I would just share it. Clearly, it stuck with me.
I didn't connect it to you.
Maybe there is a podcast out there like that though.
No, I think I just remember seeing it.
Yeah, I did
seeing that stuff out there.
That's so funny. How do you?
Go ahead. We've done this one.
Yeah, we did that one. The question for the audience, the question was, how do you approach supervision or mentorship with younger therapists, and what qualities do you look for? So we already did that one.
Yeah.
What resources or continued education opportunities do you recommend for staying up to date with the latest practices? We kind of did that too.
Yeah.
But PESI?
Yeah, I do a lot of PESI trainings. There's a few free websites out there, but they don't always count for MBCC if you still carry that. But I do a lot of the PESI trainings because they're remote and they're cheap. And
yep. One of the things I've learned to look for with PESI, though, is diverse panel teaching the CEU. Because sometimes they put out these, like, you know, improve your cultural competence, and it's all white people.
Barf.
And so, like, I'm not going to take that one. You know, maybe 20 years ago I would have, but I've learned to look for that.
Yeah, look up the trainers.
You look up the trainers, research it a little bit. I mean, PESI's pretty good.
Yeah.
Better than Psychology Today.
I've had some really good ones. I've had a couple that were plunkers.
Yeah.
But I sat through them. Yeah. I need me them CEUs.
I mean, it's like ethical.
Yeah.
You know, we need that every 2 years. So, like, that's so boring.
I had one that they made it really interesting.
Yeah, that attorney that we went to together.
Yeah,
remember, he looked like Johnny Cash.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that guy was good.
Yeah.
He was a good storyteller.
Yeah.
I liked him.
So he was pretty entertaining, but I've had some really poopy ones too.
Right. Last segment. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Social media and trends.
Okay, this is hilarious because I'm rarely on social media.
I know. That's why I'm excited for you to answer these.
My kids make fun of me. Do you all know who Cillian Murphy is?
I don't even know that, and I'm on social media a lot.
Peaky Blinders guy.
Oh, I don't even know that. Is it a TikTok thing?
Here, I'll pull it.
See, TikTok is so expansive.
You'll understand.
I don't even. Okay, yeah, pull it up.
So there's the disappointed Cillian meme.
Oh my gosh.
Which is basically my face all the time, not on purpose.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Are we talking RBF again?
A little bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Renae is always accused of being in a bad mood
or
grumpy or pissed off.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Now I know. I just didn't have a name to it.
He also doesn't know social media. So my kids will bring something up and it's a Cillian Murphy moment.
That's pretty good.
Because it's me. I'll be like, what?
That's pretty good, actually.
But I hear about it all the time from my students.
Yes.
So I think I can do these.
Okay. What are your perspectives on the rise of the, air quote, self-care movement, social media therapy, and the trend of, air quote, self-diagnosing in today's culture?
Oh. So there's a privilege piece to this that we don't talk about often. Self-care, the idea of self-care is a very privileged aspect of life. Mm-hmm. And it's often portrayed in ways that not everybody could do.
White ways.
Yes, like the bath bombs.
Yeah.
And
very like whitewashed.
Yeah.
Like, you know, ways.
And like
the
very
sauna,
expensive.
the gym memberships, the massages, the yoga.
And it's not things that everybody can do.
Right.
Not everybody's bodies can do those things. Not everybody can afford them. And not everybody enjoys all of those things. So I think, first of all, self-care is what you feel comfortable with. Second of all, we need to advocate so that everyone in this world has time to do the things that make them feel good.
100%.
And work-life balance. Like how many clients have you had that had 2 or 3 jobs?
Yeah.
Like too many. Too many. And there was absolutely, they were not diagnosable. They were just exhausted.
Yeah.
The trend of self-diagnosing, that one's a tricky one for me. Because some people really genuinely, I think, they're seeking care. And that doesn't mean that they shouldn't have the care.
Right.
Because I think that's something that people jump to and they're like, oh, they're just being dramatic or they're blah, 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 blah. The very fact that they're out there like looking for things, a name to call how they're feeling is significant to me. And so I was always really careful in those situations.
Right. It is something, if you do relate so strongly to a diagnosis, go get checked out.
Yeah.
If you can, there's, free clinics, sliding fee scale, whatever.
Validate it.
Go get it validated.
Get the tools you need
get the treatment
to manage.
Right.
Yeah. The one thing that is hard for me though is when individuals self-diagnose and then they use that as a reason not to grow.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're talking about. Like,
right.
That becomes kind of their identity and they get stuck in it and then they're in so much pain.
Yes.
Like just watching how they maneuver the world.
Yes.
And so that's something that would come into my office and then we would work on that.
Yeah. That is something that if you're relating to that, that is something that we can definitely help you with in therapy. And there's no shame in that. It's very easy and natural to make depression become your identity because it's depression.
Totally. Totally. And that's where I'm always really cautious. Like, cause it's sometimes you find out the person does have the thing. Sometimes you find they're hurting for a completely different reason.
Exactly.
Yeah. But either way, they're out there and they're working on themselves. They're trying to figure themselves out. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I don't have it. I'm like, use your tools, but curate the tools you use.
Yeah. And therapy works for everyone.
Yeah.
If you have access to it.
I think what you said is really key. Like they may or may not be therapists that are out there. So if you're like only getting your information from like TikTok or
they may or may not be
professionals.
Mental health. Yeah, because the thing is, and I say that because, and again, I don't know for sure, but I do know that there are a lot of mental health influencers who are not licensed professionals. There are a lot of life coaches who are not licensed professionals and didn't receive any training. Yeah. And they're out there giving advice as if they have the training and the license, and that is misleading.
Yep.
Do your research. And if you don't know how to do the research, or if you don't know, ask questions of mental health professionals that like they'll just say, yes, I'm a mental health professional. Here's my license number. Don't be afraid to ask for that. Yeah. Essentially.
And watch for confirmation bias too. Because when I'm teaching students about diagnosis, they almost always diagnose themselves with almost everything that we go through because we're learning about it, right? Yeah. And all diagnoses exist in a spectrum where it's a part of your world, but it's not impacting you to the point where you are feeling unwell.
Right.
It's when they get into the portion of where you feel unwell, that's when we start needing to work on them. So we all have different things.
Oh yeah. Like we all have narcissistic traits.
Yes.
We all have
symptoms of depression
and anxiety. And this is all very normal. We're human beings. We all have
daydream.
Doesn't mean we have the diagnosis.
Nope.
So when people say, oh, they're such a narcissist, I cringe because I'm like, well, are they? right? Or do they just have some pretty significant narcissistic traits going on right now? And we don't know why right now that is happening, you know.
Like, or they think narcissism is something else.
Right.
It's not necessarily someone that just sits around thinking about themselves. It's also, or someone who's selfish. It's a little bit more.
It's a little bigger than that.
Yeah. Though those things are things that are difficult to deal with.
Yes. And you're going to run into clients that come in and they'll say, I think I have narcissism, or I think I have depression, or I think I have PTSD. And, you know, sometimes you kind of have to talk them out of it.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a work in progress for sure. Yeah. I think we kind of answered question number 2 then.
Yeah, totally. How do you believe social media has influenced mental health awareness, education, both positively and negatively? I think the thing I see in high school and college students now is they are much more attuned to their mental health. And they're attuned to what they need to feel healthy, which is so amazing.
Yes.
So amazing. Like, I'm excited to see them become adults because of how aware and how much they want to be healthy. And they're going back to kind of healthier lifestyles than we've seen in a really long time.
Yes. The whole canceling of the hustle culture. Yes. I am so happy about that. Yes. I am so freaking happy about that.
I'm too tired.
It's exhausting.
I'm too tired. What did one of my kids tell me? The more money you earn, the harder you work to get it, the more you're feeding the capitalist machine.
Yeah. I love it. All these kids are great.
You're cool.
Yeah,
you're so much cooler than I was at your age.
Good dude. Yeah. All right. Last question. How has the mental health field evolved since you began, and where do you think it's headed?
Oh, it was so medical when I started.
Right.
It was like going to the doctor's office. In fact, we had scales, stethoscopes, like all.
Really?
I could take blood pressures. Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, because we worked with, some of my time I was in a research clinic.
Oh, okay.
And then the other, if you worked with anyone with eating disorders.
Oh, yeah.
We had to have all that present. So it felt much more sterile, I believe. And it was mostly talk therapy back then. And when I would do my kind of creative stuff, people would be like, oh, that Renae, how cute. Look at her doing her arts and crafts.
And they're sitting there with their notepad saying, how do you feel about that? To everything their client says.
Yeah. And it's come so far in that way. I feel like therapists are really allowed to do what fits for them now.
I hope more people from different perspectives and cultures sign up to become a mental health professional.
Oh, I do too. And just looking at just the different worldviews that we could add into our general practice and understanding. I just think it's cool. I don't know.
Therapy is cool.
It is cool. I do it all the time.
You should do it. You should talk to a therapist.
Yeah.
So is there anything we haven't talked about that you want to add?
I don't think so. Just love yourselves.
Yeah.
Be gentle with yourself. You're doing good work and you're needed.
Are you interested in putting out any contact information?
Sure. If you want to reach me, you can reach me at letters are hard. SWANSONRD@uwosh.edu. Feel free to email me. You can also call me at 920-424-3461. And I'd love to chat. You can ask me all the questions.
Okay. I'll put that information in the bio too, or the summary. But anyway, thanks for listening, everyone. And I hope this helped. Go to therapy. Therapy is cool. Have a good day.
Thank you for having me. And great